Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is very, very cold here today. How is the weather there for you guys? Scott said it's like 30-something degrees this morning.
31.
31. And I'm looking at our neighbor's roof, and it is covered in frost. It's super cold. How was your guys' weekend? Week. I guess weekend too. It's Sunday, right? How was your guys' week? Did you do anything fun, exciting, new? Scott and I, with one of our other lovely ladies, Sherry, went and did a bike ride yesterday. I almost backed out because of the temperature, not because of the exertion. Hello. We ended up doing the interurban trail again. It was the second time we did it, and we made 9 miles on the bike. It was amazing. And the best part, is there's like this super deep, like it goes down and then up V. I almost crashed at the bottom, but I didn't. Last time I made it only halfway up the other side before I had to push the bike. I made it all the way up this time. First gear. But I did make it and did not crash. So I'm super proud of myself. So that's a big non-skill victory for me. Hi, Lindy. Hi, Katie. Mikey. I'm learning a new knitting technique. Amazing. I tried to learn one yesterday. It's like the FSHPC. I don't remember exactly. It made me very mad multiple times and I quit. Hi, Christopher. Hi, Donna. Hi, Colleen. How are you guys? I was asking everybody, how was your week? Did you do anything new? I'm still very happy about the bike. Coming home, I was freezing. Took a shower, which solved everything. But I'm really, really, really proud of myself. I have a new process to finally get a grip of the mess in my apartment. On every tenderloin, I will clean for 2 minutes per side. Perfect. The small, tiny habits. I had a comment a few days ago, and it was a single mom, and just said she did carnivore and then kind of fell off, and she just was overwhelmed and was reaching for the easy, quick things just because she was so exhausted working full time, raising kids, all this kinds of stuff. And I realized we have been trained to think putting things in the oven or, popping things in the microwave are the quick and easy. But Scott and I, for the past few days, have been doing Crockpot meals, which I haven't done in a while. And let me tell you guys, the best, I put the recipe on Discord, the best chuck roast I've ever had. I listened to a comment someone made on Twitter, and I just was like, I'm going to try it. And we followed it, and it was amazing. Like, amazing. Simple, though. Put it in the morning. You literally, if you want to feel a little bit more safe versus leaving it in a crock pot, you can do in like an Instapot or whatever. But put it in the crock pot before you leave for work. Literally, we put a little bit of avocado oil, or you can do tallow or bacon grease. Plop that meat in there. You do not need to sear all the sides. Normally, I do that. Plop that meat in there, salt, pepper, whatever spices you want. Cover it, walk away. That's it. I was very hesitant about this because normally, I have to sear all the sides, lock in the moisture, add a little bit of beef stock, all this. Don't do it. I'm telling you, you will thank me if you have not made it this way. It keeps the juices from getting diluted down. The key is when you pull it out whole, it'll be almost fall apart. Take an immersion blender, blend all of the fat and juice up. Then you put the meat back and shred it up and let it sit there for like 15 to 30 minutes. The best, y'all. Anyways, so in the morning, how long do you think it took you to set that up?
That was less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes to prep for dinner for us. So that's less time than I think it actually takes to start the oven, take out a freezer meal, and pop it in the oven. And then we did pork carnitas yesterday. Same method, because normally I put chicken stock in there and sear all the sides. Chuck that sucker in there, put the spices in there, let it cook for like 8 hours, I think, for our size. Phenomenal. Blended it, the juices at the end, phenomenal. Okay. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Kelly. Thank you he's doing wonderful, by the way. We went and saw him 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And he's doing so good. Oh my gosh. I do miss him, and I have to keep myself, because they live 30 minutes away, which isn't that far, but I have to keep myself from wanting to go down there every single day to see him because he's just so cute. And he does this thing. I have 2 other nephews and a niece by my oldest sister, but I also was much younger when she had them, so I think I don't appreciate it as much. I'm terrible. I have 2 nephews and 2 nieces. My brother has a daughter too. I just forgot about Aria. You guys probably have seen Aria. She's been at my house before. I'm the worst aunt ever. Anywho, he literally will fall asleep and he will laugh out loud in his sleep like someone told him the funniest joke. It is so cute. He'll be like, ha, ha, ha. And then he'll just like, his face will change. It's so funny.
Little dimples.
And he does. He gonna be a lady killer with them dimples. They're so cute. I love dimples. My sister has dimples. She's so cute herself. So I found a new product about a week ago called Devon Double Cream. It's called Heaven on a Spoon. It's a UK product used on scones. Of course, I don't eat them, so I put it in my coffee. Interesting. What makes it different than doing something like heavy cream? I'd be curious to know, Christopher. Coffee. Oh, y'all should know this by now. Coffee with heavy cream. Scott blended it with the immersion blender. So as I said, and I'll put this in my update that I do tomorrow too. I started weighing myself every Sunday. Last time I weighed, I was 265. God, you think I should write it down. 265.4. Today, I weigh 259.0. I'm super proud of myself, heading in the right direction again. Y'all, I've had some not so nice comments lately, and I don't want to give credence to what they said, but it made me go through the emotions of how I felt, and then I realized if I'm feeling this way, so are other people, okay? Pretty much it was, how do I say this? I wasn't making progress that they thought I should be making. And here's the thing. Each of our journeys are going to go the rate they're going to go. Life is going to happen and we're not going to be perfect. And I will wholeheartedly admit I am not perfect. There are an extreme few people that can be perfect. But here's the thing. Scott and I were talking about this last night and I kind of related it to sword making. I don't know why. I actually don't know much about making swords. But the thing is when something is simple and we breeze, Scott actually had a better example. If you're the smartest kid in high school and you breeze through high school because some people just tend to pick things up faster and they're just highly intelligent. You do great, and then boom, you hit college. And then you realize you're no longer the smartest person and stuff is difficult. A lot of times people crumble under that because they had this notion that I've been able to breeze through life versus me is that kid that has to struggle through high school. Like I have to put in the extra work. I have to go do tutoring. I have to do this just to stay up, like up above where I should be, but up, right? So then college hits and it's like, okay, I already know what I got to do. I've had to go through these rough patches. I've had to address this. I've fallen a few times, but I've had to get up repeatedly. The people who go through life, and this tends to be also people who have not experienced a lot of turmoil in their life, the minute a pothole happens or a bump or stump happens, they fall and they want to quit. For those of us, because I had a comment, someone else said that they've started so many times, like restarted so many times, it's just like depressing to them. Don't be depressed. I know it can, from one perspective, from the people who have this like amazing willpower, it can be like, oh, well, you just suck. You don't have good willpower. But here's the reality. It toughens us. It strengthens us every time we get back up. And that's the key, is getting back up every single time. Okay. It is not an excuse to do bad, or I shouldn't say do bad, but like eat off and stuff. But life happens. Okay. And it is vital to understand that it does not make us any less of a person if we have to stumble and get up repeatedly. Okay. What matters is the overarching, are we getting better? Maybe it's not as fast as what someone else should think. Like someone made a comment that I hadn't improved in 3 months. And it's like, in the weight, well, technically as of today, yes, I have. But in other ways in my life that I have. Why only measure it by my weight? And for you guys too, why only measure your success? Yesterday, riding the bike, like this is a steep hill. Like I was scared to go down it that I'd crash. I almost crashed at the bottom because of a rut in the center. It's a steep hill down, a steep hill up. I was so proud. There are people who are gonna be like, Psh, that's not successful. It is to me because the time before I wasn't able to do it. So if you're lifting weights and you can lift heavier or you can walk further, take those as wins and don't make it all about the weight. And also, do not let other people's expectations of how fast or where you should be at bring you down. Okay. I've done that and I've had to go through the whole myriad of emotions because it's not what they say exactly, but Scott and I, because he's sitting behind me, or no, he's sitting in front of me, y'all. Nothing's behind me. I had to go through the whole myriad of emotions and just realize that what has happened is I have these I call them mean monsters, and I starve them a lot. And it's like when they're starved, they're not very chatty in my head, like saying those negative thoughts and things. But then someone says a comment that reinforces what I already think of myself. And it's like they get a buffet and then they start like chattering the meanness, right? So don't let your mean monsters get fed. That was my spiel of the day. Jazzy Jude, did you put the chuck roast frozen in the crock pot? I did not. I don't know how it would change it. It may not, maybe just cook time. I would be concerned to do that, and here's the reason why. Because as it cooked, it would unevenly cook the outside because the inside's going to be the coldest. I always take out and thaw my meat the day before, so I guess you'd have to add that into the prep time. But we always talk about if we're going to do meals like that the night before and take it out and let it thaw beforehand. So Christopher, super high fat milk, 48%. Wow. Okay, thick and creamy. That's cool because this cream, I believe, is only like 30 some percent. I don't think I've ever seen any cream that's much higher. It's called clotted cream. Okay, I've heard of clotted cream. Interesting. I wonder if I could find it in the US. That'd be very interesting to know.
Well, that was a question from Mikey about joint pain and fingers. Any idea what's going on?
Mikey, joint pain and fingers.
Mike works. Yes. Just above that.
Can you not click on it and do it? Oh, I'm sorry. Somehow I got way past that. I've been good this week, but I have joint pain in my fingers since yesterday. Any idea what's happening? It could be oxalate dumping. Depends on how your weather is going. I have it because it's we skipped autumn. It's getting winter, and I actually have a harder time with my fingers in winter. I started crocheting. Not this is a crocheting channel, y'all, but I started crocheting. This is all I made yesterday because my hands just were getting a little sore. I'm trying to make, it's going to tie together. I'm making a dog sweater for Olive. Anyways, so I've noticed that, and it also could be if you are very sensitive to things, look at what you're eating. Because sometimes, like I discovered, black pepper makes my skin break out, or I get a rash from black pepper.
Cinnamon?
And cinnamon. Y'all, you're right. So it could be subtle things you're eating that are causing issues. So take a peek at that because it took a lot to figure out the cinnamon and then finally figure out the black pepper. The black pepper was harder, but my dad's allergic to cinnamon, so I kind of put 2 and 2 slowly together that way. Although I can have Ceylon cinnamon, not the whatever the other cinnamon is. Rose, what's wrong with people? Yeah, people here, something that I've discovered is people have expectations for themselves and others, and they put them on there, and when they're not met, they get upset. And then they feel like they have the right to express their upsetness. And it's not that they don't, but, there's enough bitterness and anger in the world, and it is what it is. Yeah. Jenny, the coasting won't help with those difficult hills, and that's very true. And that's the way to look at it. That is absolutely the way to look at it, is every time we stumble, it is a lesson learned. This is also something Scott's my soundboard. Well, he's a soundboard that talks back. So what is that?
I'm just a rock. No brain power. It's just easy to talk to me. Like
It is
just
easy
comes
to talk to
back
him. Being realistic and honest with ourselves. Sherry, who went with us yesterday, she went on a cruise recently by herself, and she did really well on the cruise. And there was that little voice in the back of my head. It's like, well, why can't I be that good? And it's just like, you know why? Because my life experiences are different. What I've experienced throughout my life, my lessons, everything has been different. And it does not make me wrong, worse, better in any way that I have to admit to myself, cruises are not for me. I do not have the self-control, the willpower, the strength to avoid eating bad. And being honest with myself, not beating myself up, but being like, okay, don't put myself in that position. I did. I stumbled, learned my lesson, and now I'm not going to do it again, or at least for a very long time. Finding these little things that we stumble on, then we know to avoid them. Okay. So that's like, this is what it's all about. And that's the other thing. Like, I know I'm soapboxy today. We have all experienced different things in our life, the good, the bad, the traumatic, and it has shaped us. I find it ridiculous to expect that if I have like expectations for Scott, that he meets them, but he never lived the life I did. So he hasn't had the experiences and the pressures and, the wins in life to set those expectations I have. And I have no right to get upset if he can't meet them. I'm pointing at you, but I'm really pointing through the screen.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Amanda said something earlier about like feeding her monster that the negativity monster, and people are the worst enemies sometimes with that own internal voice. I found the best way to reduce the impact of that monster is gratefulness. And that every day I wake up is a gift. I woke up. I mean, I could have not woken up. I could have died last night in my sleep. Plane could have fallen on the house. House could have burned down. It could have been robbed and murdered. I woke up. It's a gift. I could have had a heart attack, whatever. It allows me to look at whatever mistakes I did yesterday and let go because I have the gift of a new day. And I can squander it, which I've done a lot of that in my life. I could be productive. I could be impactful. I could be encouraging. I could be disappointing to myself, whatever. It's a gift.
It is.
And that helps me feed the good monster that wants me to keep going in life and stand up just one more time because it's a new day.
Mine is slightly less complex. I wake up every day and I'm thankful for finding my other half. There are so many people that don't get to experience what I get to experience with Scott. And there is no amount of money, fame, things I would ever trade Scott for. We could be broke living on the street and I still wouldn't trade him for anything because it's just like feeling incomplete. And I don't mean that in a like, I can't be by myself kind of way. It's just like finding a piece of you that was missing that you never knew was missing until you found it. And it's amazing. Like it really just is amazing. Anyways, but I do agree, being thankful for what we have. And also just not beating ourselves up. This is a way of life for me. Does that mean I'm going to be perfect? No. And I'm first to admit there is not a perfect human being on this planet. And if you have to restart every week, then do it. The reason I like to say I restarted, even if I've only eaten one bad meal, is it lets me almost like cash out the register. Whatever I did last week, I did last week. I can't change it. No amount of shame is going to change it. Today is a brand new day. This is the start of race. Not that I'm really in a race, but it's the start of my journey. And I can let go of all that shame and baggage. It's a language thing. It really doesn't mean much except to me, but I can let go of all that baggage of, oh goodness, I ate a off carnivore meal yesterday. I can let it all go and be like, okay, today is a fresh day. I'm restarting. I'm moving forward. So that is, I think I've technically only had 3 restarts along this, like 3, I think. Rosie, a little bit right after Rosie in this one, but no matter if you have to do it every other day. My suggestion, though, is if you are having to do that, really be willing to sit down and journal and figure out what's going on, because, gosh, it's important to understand it, or we're going to be, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's what happens, is we just keep banging our head against the wall. And eventually, if we don't do something even slightly different, it will lead us to eventually quitting. And I don't want anybody to quit. Christopher said he sent the link for Whole Foods. I will have to check it out. I usually just get meat at Whole Foods, but I'll have to go and look and see, because I would like to try it and see how it compares to the regular cream that I get from Costco.
Question from Mark Fredericks.
I'm sorry, Mark, I'll get you in just a second. I'm on this around weekly restart, coming from food sugar addict to binging disorder to binging once every 1 to 1.5 weeks, still in progress. See, there's other people, especially those who haven't experienced binging, that think, oh, you're not winning. Yes, you are. If you were doing it multiple times a week and now you're getting it further out, all I say, Lola, is when you're having that and when you're falling off, journal it. I'm not a journaler. I actually don't like writing. My thoughts never come out coherent when I write them versus when I think them. But I did find that it does help, at least writing ideas down, of trying to dig out the root of what happened. There's always a root cause when we fall off. Always a root cause. Okay, you said Mark. Can you not clicky click it?
No.
Oh, here we go. Mark, thanks for being here, Amanda. Thank you for being here, Mark. How do you think we can bring up the idea of carnivore with women? Where do we start when the idea initially seems so crazy? It depends on the woman. Is it a friend, family member, spouse? So I think that's going to slightly change how you're going to do it. Honestly, you know them better than I do. Some people suggesting keto or ketovore is so much easier to swallow than carnivore. Most people who do ketovore end up trying carnivore, at least at the bare minimum. Getting them off the sugars is amazing. And you could talk about experience, like, I've been doing this and I've been feeling so much better. Being pushy, saying you need to do this, or talking about it 50,000 times, is going to turn them off. And even if it would truly benefit them and they do well at it, people don't like being told what to do. Imagine that. And I think that's the best way. So it really truly depends on who the female is to you. If you want to say that or tell me, I can be more helpful with that.
I also kind of want to add that it really helps to, in my life, my experience, when you're doing something, you don't really talk about it, but your behavior changes and you're just more happy, you're more energized and focused, whatever. Like, being who you are better will get people's attention and they'll want to ask, what are you doing differently? What's going on? And then you can talk about it.
Being the shining light, an example.
That's right.
Because when people see your boat starting to rise, they notice it and they're like, I want that too for myself. And that can be a big one, is when people see it, they're like, oh, I want a piece of that pie. Like, metaphorically, obviously, not really, but I want a piece of that. I want to experience that joy and happiness. Like, share with me. I had a friend from college, oh gosh, a long time ago. She just messaged me out of the blue And she's always been pretty skinny most of her life, but we hadn't talked in years. And somehow she said her dog had passed away recently, and I told her mine had too, and we kind of talked. And she said she had gained like 20 pounds and was having a lot of pain. I'm like, well, let me tell you about why I do carnivore. And this is why I have autoimmune, I have pain, this, and this. And so we had a nice conversation about carnivore. And, maybe carnivore is a bit much for you to swallow now, but you could look at ketovore. And I gave her a little bit of information and like set her on the way. So these are the conversations to have without being pushy. Angela, it took her 11 years to lose 85 pounds. Congratulations. There is literally no shame in that. Who else lives in our body but us, And you had very little emotional support. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Life, especially when it's in those, it ebbs and flows, and those periods where you just feel beat down all the time. It's very hard. Like, it is. Life is difficult. Janet, you had some major challenges. You rock in my book. Thank you. That's so sweet. I have been on a 5-month small stall. Can't speak. Due to major eye surgeries and subsequent recovery, I've been pretty good with my eating, but no gain. You know what? Being consistent is a gain. Whether the scales moved or not, how do you feel though? I mean, that's just it. This is not there are a lot of people who do carnivore because it is a race to go faster, further, and get to whatever their goal is. I decided to get off that rat wheel because I have spent the past, how old am I, 34? That's funny, I have to ask that. 22 years of my life on that rat wheel. Got to diet, got to get there faster, got to lose weight, got to get moving. I'm a bad person if I don't get this weight off of me. If I don't do it fast enough or based on other people's expectations, right? So I still think it's a win. Could have gone back to eating donuts and cake, gotten kind of in an oppression. The fact you didn't, kudos, really. I have another question. I think I have more issues staying on track around my period. Yep. What do you do differently? If you do, my cycle is definitely, I get more hormonal, more emotional. I will literally cry for no reason. I was on my period at my sister's, which didn't help. And I literally laid on the floor. I didn't tell her this because I didn't want to bother anybody. I was laying on the floor crying in my bedroom. Just needed to cry. Everything was falling apart. Something that I do, and I try not to do too much of, is I get dark chocolate square and I suck on it. That usually helps immensely, and I try not to do it every day. It's just something that if it gets bad enough. And then the other thing I do, I cry. I just literally cry. It lets it out. Scott is raising his hand.
Because I'm the one that has to do with it.
Scott's like...
Okay, the most important thing that we try to work on is good habits, like going to bed and getting up at a regular time. And when that gets really screwed up, it makes it much harder. The physical, emotional stuff starts compounding. Eating at a consistent time, eating a consistent, diet, whether it be some bacon and eggs in the morning, not exactly exciting, but simplifying the evening meals so that they are easy to prepare and easy to consume, so that there's less chance of like, I'm starving, I'm going to binge.
But also along the making it easy, especially on my period, making sure whatever the meal is going to be, that dinner meal, I can have like bacon and eggs. It's not my thing, but I eat it almost every day. But my evening meal, something I really want. So like I told Scott, the chuck roast and the pork carnitas are definitely now in the weekly rotation. And the chuck roast, the best thing about it is you just change the spices and then you get completely different flavors.
Okay, a whole new meal.
Yeah. Even though it's super simple. So during your cycle, having a meal you're looking forward to, whether it's a ribeye or maybe like a good one I like to do is chicken thighs with Swiss cheese and bacon and a little bit of mustard. Oh, that's a good palate cleanser if I'm getting beef tired. Make meals that you're looking forward to, and that will help a lot.
Yeah, mostly it's just around having good habits, and that's God. I cannot recommend Atomic Habits good enough because
In tiny habits, y'all, we're
yeah,
doing, I don't know where I said it at. November, because I got the computer, I can actually look. November 16th. I'll have it on the website. We're going to start book club again. We kind of paused it for summertime. We're going to start book club again in Discord. It costs nothing. You literally just have to show up. You can rent the book if you don't want to buy it. However, we're doing Tiny Habits by BJ
Tiny
Hobbit.
Hobbits.
Tiny Hobbits.
There's like really, really small hobbits. Like it's, hobbits are really small anyway.
Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, Fogg, if I remember correctly. And we're going to read chapter 1 and 2 by the 16th. We meet Thursdays, 6 o'clock Pacific, in the voice chat and Discord. Come join us. It's wonderful because it's not just me talking. We have some ladies that come really consistently, and we have conversations. And if we have different views about things, we talk about it, and it's lovely. Okay, because you can get different perspectives from people. So there's that. There's my spiel about that. Colleen, Amanda, I think you're doing great, and I love that you and Scott are just real. Thank you, Colleen. You're very sweet.
Thank you.
I've been carnivore 5 years and have had many stalls for months at a time. Lots of love, Michigan. Yeah, and look how much success that you've had. And it's not, I'm not even talking about the weight, just in your life, how much success. It has turned into, it just occurs to me, it has turned into weight has become the only metric of success in weight loss and health journeys, but it is, albeit it does have some importance because as long as it's trending down, that's good. It doesn't have to go at a certain rate, but down is good. But there's so many other things. Mental health. I had someone make a comment that, I mean, this happens pretty frequently, but they're like, you're going to die of a heart attack or this, and this. And it's like, bruh, you didn't even realize if I hadn't started carnivore when I did, I probably would have committed suicide by now. So like, let's weigh apples and oranges here because you're fear-mongering about the heart attack. One, I don't believe it. But two, even if it was the case, I would have been dead already. So, mental health is a huge, huge benefit of carnivore. Huge benefit. Mark, okay, thinking of my wife. How long have you been doing carnivore, Mark? Mike's my dad's name. My dad's on my brain. Patience is very hard, especially with the ones that we loved. But I would love to know how long you've been doing carnivore. Scott's raising his hand again. He's doing it. It's not that he's asking permission. For anybody that panics about this, I just can't see him unless he puts his arm up because the screen is in the way.
And I don't want to interrupt. So, Mark, I think I have a personal kind of way to share with you. So I did, if you know some of our history, every kind of diet in the world with Amanda. Because I wanted to encourage her to find a diet and lose weight because I knew losing weight would make her a lot happier in life. And we'd do diets and she'd lose weight and then we'd kind of fall off because, to be honest, most of the diets were not really sustainable. Carnivore/ketovore is lifelong sustainable. Finding the patience. I'm older than her by 17 years. And I've gone through things in my life, as I mentioned earlier, about my gratefulness, like it's a new day.
Mm-hmm.
I had to accept and learn that when she wants to make the choice, she'll just make it. It'll be like a light switch. It's like living in darkness all your life, and then you find a light switch and you know what light is. Once she recognized for herself in that hospital bed that she got herself where she was at, and that she got herself where she was at.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was snapping at the dog, not you.
Oh, okay.
I was over here trying to get the dog's attention.
Anyways, that once she realized that she got herself where she was at, and that she also could get herself out of it because she could just make different choices, that was empowerment. That was simply realizing the choices that she can make and she can empower her life. Waiting for somebody to realize that, it's hard. The best you can do is by example, I would also say the best thing to do is talk about like how you're seeing that in Amanda's life. You're like, I love these videos. This is what we've learned. Another part is also like reading Atomic Habits and seeing the change that you get, or Atomic or Tiny Habits. Either one will really work.
I like both of them, but there's
Yeah.
a different reason.
But-
Sorry to interrupt, honey.
But just for your spouse seeing habits in you change, that she wants to like, what's changed with you? What's going on? Because that will really want her to keep up with you and improve her life and go along.
Yeah. And if something like joining a public book club, granted, there's only usually 10 to 15 of us in the book clubs. If you're more introverted, still come. You don't have to talk, okay? You can text chat if you're shy like that. Mark, do something like do a book club, the two of you, read the book together and the benefits. I mean, it can be whatever books you want, but these kinds of things that when our boat rises, they both rise kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Being the one that needed to hear about it, and Scott being kind of in your position, granted he wasn't doing carnivore, but having that patience. I told Scott, it's hard to believe that Scott and I have actually been together for 10 years now. But it's vital to have the patience, even though it can be very hard, but also be that positive light. Like, let's go walk together. Let's go do these things together. You know, something that may be slightly challenging, but not too challenging for her. Because I don't know physically where she's at, but things like that, that is the way to be loving, supportive, and not pushy. And you will find as you get brighter and you feel better and these kinds of things, she will want to come along the path. May not be exactly how you want. Maybe she does keto or ketovore, but giving just the space to allow her to do that, that is important. Because I'm telling you, too many times, from the time I was 12, you guys, from the time I was 12, I have been on and off diets my entire life. I have never weighed a normal weight. The closest I ever got was I was 183 pounds when I was 20. That is the lowest I've ever weighed as an adult. And I've been on and off diets since I've been 12. So there's that. But I absolutely believe in you. Patience. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. Angela, I forgot to mention I have cerebral palsy. If you didn't know, Scott does too. I'm a grandmother of 3. I learned how to make carny chicken nuggets. I saw Anisha make those. I have not yet because I'm lazy. I'm going to be honest. I'm lazy. Oh my goodness. But they do look delicious. I just like simple and easy. That's my brand. Simple, quick, easy, move on, not thinking about food. But I'm also never been really a cook kind of person because when I cook, I can cook really well. The kitchen's like a bomb blew up in it. The agreement was I told Scott, I cooked, you have to clean. And it's like an hour and a half of cleaning because there's so many pots and pans and stuff. I don't miss that. Not in the least. I do the dishes now instead of him because there's so few. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, and I think Scott is right. Find some videos of mine or others that really kind of hit home and either share them with her and just being as authentic as possible with her. Not that I'm saying you aren't, but just in the joy and brightness that you can bring to her. And I think that'll help because that is something that people want. You know, there's always been, I think everybody's probably experienced this. They've met people that others just kind of like, they kind of just like migrate to them. And then you have the other people that they don't. And what it is those people tend to be positive, uplifting, but also they just have that like brightness that others want to bask in. They want to share in that. And it kind of brings them to them. And you can be that for her. Hi, Christy. I have Hashis and insulin resistance. I feel like all the meat would resolve the insulin resistance. Yes, it's going to take time. And it just depends on if you are. I'm assuming you didn't say you're type 2 diabetic. So I'm assuming you're probably not a type 2 diabetic. So most likely it'll happen sooner than later. My insulin resistance is pretty much gone. Caveat gone. It could be better. I'm in the normal range, but I would like to be slightly lower. I forgot the I think it's under 7, something like that, is normal, but I'm kind of on the higher end of normal. I was 14.4, I believe, when I started, which is really high. And that's my fasting insulin. Okay. So absolutely. And this is the way it works, y'all. Physiology, easy physiology time. Insulin resistance happens because the body produces too much insulin, and insulin is what binds with glucose. Okay, insulin goes up every time we have glucose, it just spikes up. Having prolonged, constant, elevated levels of glucose, eating sugar and carbs a lot. There are some other disease processes and drugs that can cause this, but I'm not talking about that because those are very specific. What happens is the cells constantly get bombarded with energy, which is what insulin, and there's insulin receptors on the outside of the cells because the insulin is like the taxi for the glucose into our cells, right? But what happens is these cells get so stuffed full of energy, they're like, I don't need more energy. And it's called downregulate. They close some of the doors on the outside. So let's say if they had 10, they now have 8. And if the high levels of insulin continue in the body, it's like, okay, I only need 6 now because I'm still overly stuffed, and then 4, and then it doesn't ever go to 0 because then you'd be dead. And these are not true numbers, but it's just example. And that's what causes insulin resistant. These cells become resistant because they don't have as many ways in the cell anymore because they are constantly bombarded. Well, when you do carnivore, we don't eat carbs or sugar or trace amounts of carbs, just very little. So your body stops producing as much insulin. Why? Because we're not intaking glucose. Now, our liver will, through gluconeogenesis, produce some because we do need some glucose to live. What we don't need is exogenous glucose, meaning glucose we eat outside our body. As long as we're having protein, our liver will make the little glucose that we need to survive. Okay. And that's why if you eat meat and no glucose, you don't die. Because we do absolutely need a little bit of glucose. But again, our body will produce this for us. Cannot stress that enough. We do not need exogenous glucose because I've heard many times people say we don't need any glucose to live. Yes, we actually do, but we don't need to eat it. Our body can make it from proteins we consume. Where was I going with this? Oh, insulin resistance. And so what happens is as we do carnivore and time progresses, your body stops producing as much insulin, your cells start using that stored energy up. I mean, it can be muscle cells, it can be liver cells, whatever. They start using that up and they're like, oh, you know what? I need more energy and it's getting a little harder to pick it up. So I'm going to upregulate the insulin receptors. And so it starts picking it up more readily. And that's where your insulin resistance starts getting better. Okay. It is super duper important because I had a guy make a comment yesterday or day before, and he's like eating. I had to laugh, and I'm such a terrible person. He's like eating fatty meats clogs the receptors that allow your body to use insulin, and that's what causes insulin resistance when you eat meat. I'm just like, bro. He said glucose. He didn't even say insulin.
Yeah,
there are no glucose receptors. It's insulin because that's what causes damage in our nerves is free-floating glucose. When we eat so much, the body can't keep up with making insulin to bind it. And that's what causes eye damage, neuropathy, all these things in our body. Very bad to have free-floating glucose in our body. But that usually tends to be pretty severe diabetic, okay? Anywho, or type 1. That can happen more readily with a type 1 diabetic. But that's a completely different story. Anywho, he was saying that eating fat clogged the ability to pick up insulin. And it's like, they do not share the same receptors. Our body has very specific receptors on the outside of each cell, and that's actually not even remotely true. So, don't worry about that. Off this. Christy, 5.9. So you're like me. You're kind of on the upper end. You're still normal, but you're on the upper end. So doing carnivore will help that get down to what I consider even better level of insulin. And I'm assuming that's US metrics because if it's not, I have no idea what 5.9 means if it's not a US metric. Yes, my love.
Above Colleen's donation was a question for Mikey about the monster thing.
Oh, I I meant to click on this. Yes. And actually, Scott told me this yesterday because he was mentioning the two wolves about feeding, which one you feed, the good or the bad. I actually never heard of it until he told me that. And it's exactly the same thing. I just consider, in my brain, I said monsters. And then he's like, oh, the whole like Native American wolf thing. And that's true. That also is in Atomic Habits. He talks about voting for who we are. Excuse me. Do we believe that we're a good person, or do we believe we're just that crappy person? And what happens over time is every time I take a step towards a vote, is what they call it. Like, let's say I went and ate cupcakes. That's a vote for I'm a crappy person, because that's how I view it. Versus I go and eat a steak. That's a vote for I'm a good person. And over time, these votes add up and it sways us to how we see ourselves. And here's the thing, it's very, very important that we realize one vote does not make us a bad person. Like me going eating a cupcake right now, I'm not going to, but me going eating a cupcake does not erase all of the good that I've done over here. Or I shouldn't say the good, but all the votes I had over here towards being this type of person that I want to be, a healthy individual versus not healthy. Okay. And that's actually why I really love Atomic Habits. Scott's raising his hand again.
So I just want to add in that, if you take the moment to think about yourself, what do you believe about yourself, right? Because what you believe about yourself, you'll find that you have habits that are what you believe about yourself. And it's a very interesting dynamic because you can change what you believe about yourself by doing different habits.
By casting, the book says by casting votes, we can change it.
Different votes.
Yeah.
So getting back to our morning mile is like we're walking the dogs every day in the morning.
Except when it's 30 degrees.
Except when it's 30 degrees. But, basically that by doing that consistently, like we do the morning mile. We walk a mile every day because we did it consistently for 30 days or more. And that's what we believe about ourselves is we walk our dogs every day. So that's just an example of how to the question earlier about how you get through your period a little bit better. If you have good habits, then you will believe in yourself that I can get through my period without eating bad. It'll be difficult, but I believe in myself that I'll do good. That's the kind of things that we're talking about as far as building good habits, because they help you change your viewpoint of yourself by consistently casting a vote every day, to change what you're doing.
And it's like making a snowball. When you first start compacting the snow into the ball, it's like minute changes. But then the more and more you roll it around, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is why, like, the people who get upset, including myself, because I've done it to myself, that I haven't met these expectations here. It's like, okay, Amanda, I didn't gain all of this weight. I didn't get severely depressed. I didn't get any of this overnight or even over a month. It takes casting votes repeatedly towards the person I want to be. The dog walking, it's me casting votes that I'm a good dog mom, that I'm taking care of my dogs because I love them and I want them to be as healthy as possible. So every time I walk them, it's just like, it makes me feel good because it's like, okay, I'm casting a vote too. I'm a good dog mom. I take care of my dogs. And I'm not shaming anybody who doesn't walk their dogs. This is just Amanda's how she views herself. Okay. And it gives me dopamine and good feelings inside. Christy, have to have some vitamin P. Scott mentions that all the time. Ever since Dr. Barry said it, he's like, you need to get some vitamin P. And first time he said it, I'm like, what are you talking about? He had to tell me. That took the joke away. Kelly, I have PCOS and Hashis. All my hormones love high fat. Yeah. My PCOS, I haven't seen a gynecologist and I've tried to. It's just TMI. I haven't seen one in years and I need to. My PCOS is so much better. I literally cramp maybe an hour and it's minor when I start my period. It used to be 2 days before I'd cramp terribly. Like I had to have my left ovary removed because I had a cyst the size of a baseball, grapefruit, whatever. Same difference, I guess. And they had to remove my entire left ovary because it had completely engulfed the ovary when I was 18. I would have terrible cramps, pains, talk about like wanting to, I'd be so irritated. I couldn't even stand my own self. Like this sounds dumb, but I'd want to cut my hair off. I don't know why, because I love my hair. I think just to hurt myself, I'd want to cut my hair off. I never did. That's not true. I did it twice, but for various reasons.
Still remember the sawtooth I gave you once.
Well, that's because I was trying to get you to cut my hair. I asked Scott to cut my hair. I'm like, I'm going to put my hair in a ponytail and cut it. And then it looked like something like chomped the center of my hair. And then I asked Scott to level it out. And then it went from being long to medium to short. Anyways, the PCOS has gotten much, much, much better. My cycles are pretty regular now. The bleeding is like 2/3 better than what it was. So, and then the, oh God, I always forget what the hair thing is. It's gotten much better. I still have some, but it's not like it was, like beard level. It's gotten much better. And I imagine as I get to what a normal weight is, it might completely disappear. Fingers crossed that it does. Hirsutism is what it's called. That you have the extra hair growth and stuff like that. Ingrid, 52 days carnivore, randomly get nauseous. Is this normal? It can be. My question is how frequently are you eating? Are you doing OMAD, 2MAD? Are you eating 3 times a day? Because 52 days, you're not quite even at 2 months. And I experienced nausea intermittently for a good couple months, just depending. If I ate something extremely fatty, I would get nauseous in the beginning. Not anymore, but it was more my stomach acid and my bile production having to catch up with it. I'm also curious if you have a gallbladder or not, because that can have a really big impact on this. Scott has raised a finger this time.
So there's also, like we noticed when we were first starting out, that when we were trying new recipes, that we found some things would actually just like kick in nausea. We thought this would be good, but for example, the Buffalo Wild Wings, their desert heat.
Oh, yeah.
Because like okay, it's a dry rub. It doesn't have MSG, but it had.
He's right.
I can't remember what was
it. It had seed oils in it.
Yeah.
Who would have thought in a dry rub there'd be seed oils, but there was. So take a peek at when you're eating stuff. If you are experiencing, like, see what you're eating. Is there a trend that maybe eating pork causes it? I'm just throwing things out there. But is there a trend in what you're eating, or maybe how much fat you're eating? Maybe you need to back off just a little bit. Ingrid said she's 2MAD and still have gallbladder. So that would be my suggestion, is pay attention to when you have, like, actually write it down because it's easy to forget. When you have these nausea bouts, what did you eat? Or did you go periods of not eating a long time? Those kinds of things, because it was like chicken thighs with heavy cream. It was a chicken cordon bleu casserole. That's what it was. So I used chicken thighs, heavy cream, Swiss cheese, pork rinds crushed on top, and some spices. It made me so nauseous, but I realized I don't like chicken breast, but it was actually too much fat at one time with the heavy cream and the cheese in there. That made me super nauseous. And even to this day, thinking about eating that makes me nauseous. So that's my suggestion, is track when the nausea happens, and is there a trend that's happening with the nausea? Because I think you'll find something very valuable and important there. Or things like, are you using spices? You know, it took me a long time to discover that I was also getting a rash from black pepper, of which I still have not bought white pepper. Oh, I got in the mail, y'all. It was so good. Oh. I didn't know. Do you want to go grab it for me so I can show them?
That was delicious.
John said fresh pork caused me have nausea really bad. Yeah, I eat pork intermittently. I mean, I know I do have bacon a little bit, like 2 pieces every day, but that's cured pork. But other pork stuff, I don't have too frequently. I'm just not a huge pork lover, to be honest. This is blasphemy for many people. I don't really love bacon anymore. Beef. It's got my heart. I got in the mail from Redmond. I didn't know I was going to get it, y'all. My finger's over it. The apple pecan, good lordy, apple pecan smoked salt. I have the hickory, the cherry, and the chef's blend. The hickory and cherry are my favorite. Oh my gosh. So we made 2 things of the chuck roast one day, then the next. Scott put this on it. My new absolute favorite is this cherry pecan smoked salt. I'm actually really excited to do chicken thighs with Swiss cheese and bacon on it with this. It is super good. Warning though, do not use this like regular salt. I put probably half of what I normally do on and then half regular salt because it gets a little too smoky for my taste. If I use this like I would regular salt, but I also consume a lot of salt anyway, so there we go.
Just put it on like a seasoning almost. You don't go overboard with it, like as much salt as you need.
Yeah. Anyways,
the flavor.
I wanted to share this.
Good. We regretted sharing it with our family.
Yeah, I sent some with, because my mom's with my sister and brother-in-law with the baby, and I sent some to them, and I'm like, you guys have got to try this. It's so good. I meant to give some to Sherry to let Sherry try some. Yeah, you can check in any of my videos. I have a link that you guys can go to the Redmonds for. I think it'll give a discount code somewhere in there, but it is phenomenal. I'm actually going to order some more today because it's a limited batch. I think they're probably trying to test the waters on how much people like it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Liz, how are you making chicken nuggets? The coating is, Angela may have found it somewhere else, but I know Nisha did it, and the coating was made of the Carnivore Crisp chicken flour. I don't have mine up here, but from Carnivore Crisp is what she made hers with. There might be other recipes. That's the only one I know of. But again, I'm lazy. I know you mentioned your weigh-in. Do you take body measurements as well? I do. I got this fancy scale, and we finally donated my old one that does body fat percentage, that does water weight. It does like 16 different metrics, my muscle mass, my bone mass that I'm using as well. And I found it super helpful because a couple months ago, my weight went up like 4 pounds. It was all water weight. And the scale showed me that my bone density didn't change, my muscle mass didn't change, my fat percentage didn't change. It was water weight. So I really like the scale. What's the name of the scale? Oxoline, Oxoline Pro, or I don't know. You have to order it off their website. Christy, this is a new flavor. Yes. They literally just sent it to me a few days ago. I was like, what's this on my porch? They didn't even tell me. Slap Yo Mama have a variety with white pepper. Ooh, I do like Slap Yo Mama. It's a spice seasoning for those of you that don't know. But I'll have to check for the white pepper because that's the reason I can't use it is because the one that I have has black pepper in it. Hi, Lainey. I love the flower. Is that not an iris? Good golly. Lily. Christine, looking forward to seeing my doctor Thursday. Haven't seen a doctor in 5 months. Will be interesting. It's a new doctor and I want to reduce the medication I'm on. I'm excited for you. Suggestion I might have if you are a little bit nervous is first appointment, I told him I was doing a high fat, moderate protein, low to no carb diet. And if not, jump in and tell him carnivore. But just a suggestion, if you're feeling kind of anxious about it, is you can just mention you're doing keto too. Something like that if you don't want to deal with that. But I'm very excited for you. And whatever you do, do not be, if the doctor isn't willing to work with you, find a different one. Here, the thing with doctors is, it's what it's kind of turned into, I think, over the years, is we're not stuck with them. We can go somewhere else. You know, if they're not working, move on. I stayed with my doctor because I'm stubborn and he did improve, but also I just have a medical background. So I think it helps with him doing this, that he knows that I'm somewhat aware of what I'm doing. Kevin, how many times have you adjusted your diet to maintain losing weight? Constantly. It is every week, every day. It is a reassessment of how things are going. It's going to change a lot too. You know, at 360 pounds, I really didn't have to do tons of adjusting to lose weight, but I was so overweight. I have discovered a few things along my journey. I still do dairy, but I absolutely treat it like a condiment now. I do not have it every day. I make sure, obviously every meal. I made queso with the pork carnitas yesterday, and that was the first time in probably 2 months that I've made queso. The only heavy cream, I say I don't do daily, but that's actually not quite true. I do some heavy cream and 1 cup of coffee. I limit myself to 1 cup of coffee, probably 2 tablespoons of heavy cream in here, and that's all I have for the day, but not a ton of cheese. And I love the oven baked cheese from Gardner, Wisconsin. They have these oven baked cheese that are, I won't let myself have it more than once a week because they're too good. And that I have found more than anything has slowed my weight loss is having a lot of dairy. I just can't survive without tea. Okay, that's not true. I could survive, but it makes it really painful for me. And I'm not a good jailer. The more I feel restricted and shoved into a corner, the more I just want to lash out and do bad. So I'll take slightly slower weight loss for being consistent. I mean, it's a trade-off. Oh, Lainey, it's a hibiscus. Okay, now that makes sense looking at it now. You weighed in on this morning? Woo woo! I did too. I went from 265 to 259.0. Super proud of myself. I'm very proud that you are back on track. Just spittled on the screen. My bad, y'all. I got so excited. I'm super proud that you're back on. We were actually talking. Go back and listen to the earlier. You can probably skip forward a little bit, but I was talking about other people's expectations and then how we a lot of times view ourselves as failures. And I'm going to do a video about this. I was talking to Scott about this earlier. It's going to be probably the hardest video I ever make. Probably ever. But the video I want to go over is like how I even got 360 pounds. Like not even obviously I ate to get that weight, but mentally how I got there and what happened. Because I had some bad things happen when I was a kid, and I don't really share it very much, but I think I'm to the point where I'm willing to do that because I know there's others that have suffered what I went through, probably more than most people actually realize. And I want to share that because there has been so many comments of people who are like, I would never let myself get that big, or how in the world do you even get that big? And it's like, you guys, people just need to realize that there are some bad things that happen and it colors us. And I'm going to cry in a second. Anyways, I'm going to work on that video this week and share it because I realize there's a lot of abuse people, especially kids, have gone through that really harm us. And it makes us feel less than and shameful. And we shouldn't feel that way. So, anywho, that is something I'm going to work on this week. I find that taking measurements in inches helped me be consistent and stay the course because when the scale is up, I find that I lose inches. Yeah, I mean, it's a good way. I do measurements once a month, but I weigh every week. That scale has helped more than anything because my old scale is a really old one and it just told me my weight, but it didn't tell me like if we worked out, when we work out, what happens is you get micro muscle tears. I mean, it's just how you build muscle. Your body will retain a little bit of fluid because of that, what it views as slight damage. So the next day, if you work out and then you weigh yourself the next day, you could easily be up, but it's only fluid, temporary fluid retention. Oh, heck no, I'm not going to admit that I'm carnivore. I noticed they had an advert on their screen for keto, so it could be interesting. That's amazing because I get from Kaiser emails about being a vegan. Like they send me emails that I should be a vegan all the time. I don't think they're necessarily targeting me, but it tells me that their view is whole food veganism. But that's a big thing up here. Every time Scott and I leave the grocery store with like our hands full of meat, people's eyeballs like. I saw one lady at Costco. It was when the ribeyes were on sale, like, I don't know, last year. I thought her mouth was like, just her jaw dropped open because we had like 70 packages of ribeyes in there. Liz, I want to tell you that after a couple of weeks staying carnivore, I can't believe I don't want Diet Coke anymore. My cravings stopped on their own. That's amazing.
All right.
That is amazing. I'm curious, Liz, if you drink just water or you do seltzer water too. I just told a new practitioner I'm on a low-carb diet when they were concerned about my cholesterol labs. I'm curious, Christopher, were they kind of like, okay, that's fine? What was their comment when you told them that you were doing low-carb? because some doctors are just like, low carb is going to kill you, not even knowing it's carnivore. You know. Thank you, Ingrid. I appreciate you. Oh, look, it's already been an hour. Wasn't even paying attention to the time. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful Sunday. As always, go do something new. Challenge yourself, even if it's the tiniest little challenge. I appreciate you guys, and do not forget about the book club. I would love to have you guys there. It is amazing. We do it every week. And then at the end of this book, or towards the end of this book we're going to be doing, we vote as a group on the next book, and we just kind of cycle through the year on books that help improve us. Anyways, thank you guys. Have a good weekend, and I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye.